have a Bible, you want to follow some of the things, I'm going to share several things. That are familiar, some not familiar, and I wanted to continue on some of the things that I had started talking about a few weeks back, and that's about the image, Genesis 1:26, the dream, which those words are so closely related, and then the Elohim. And I find it more and more as I study or as I begin to see things, how we have gotten so far off the beating path, back to what wrong the focus. We've gotten so far off the focus that we really have a difficult time seeing. And again, I use that one word, God, but you can just take a lot of single words and use those words or look at those words, and they don't mean what we have defined them to mean. Like for instance, that word God, that's probably the simplest and yet the most complicated to show how that we use so many different things. And of course, I use that analogy, and I will use it again this morning quite a bit to bring some clarity to that term God, or Elohim. Several terms. Elohim in Hebrew, which means gods, and I call it the wheel of power, or the astrological wheel, the zodiac, or the Mazzaroth, etc. And then the word El, that also is always translated for the word God with a capital G, and it means power, like individual power. And so, how we are made as the image of the Elohim, and we have been empowered. And I want to see if I can make that clearer for each one of us, and I think that here are people who kind of associate themselves with this kind of teaching are beginning to see that or grasp that. And so, having said that, I wanted to read some passages that are familiar somewhat to us, but not necessarily familiar at all to the traditional people. And having said that, I want to look at two words, secret in Hebrew and mystery in Greek. The word mystery in Greek, mysterion, and actually the word mysterion, it means information given to the initiates, or information that's given outside the normal realm of receiving information. That's what the word mysterion means. It's knowledge, information given outside the arena of what we would call just normal information. That you send the kids to school and they obtain information, they simulate it, put it in their practice, whatever. And we do the same thing. So this is information that is other than, I couldn't even call it extraterrestrial, but other than saying it's extraterrestrial, I just said it's other than the normal state of information. So you are initiated so that you can receive that information. Then in Hebrew, the word secret has a similar meaning. It's all, again, information made known to the initiate. So you have these two different words, secret in Hebrew, mystery in Greek, and I guess a lot of people are looking for the mystery and are trying to find the secret. And then I remember over the years people asking me, why would you take such tremendous information and put it in a mystery, hide it, or shroud it in a mystery, or put it somewhere secret where you can't hardly find it. In other words, it's not available or accessible seemingly to the mass. And that does seem to be the way it comes across, but that's not how it is, and I wanted to draw on that and try to uncover this idea of the ideology of a secret or a mystery, something that's only available to special people or just chosen people or initiated people. So, having said that, I wanted to read 1 Corinthians 15. This is tradition and religion really goes off on this passage of Scripture from a literal perspective. It's a shame that they didn't write this, not literally, but wrote it the way it was intended to be written. Let's just start with verse 35. But some men will say, how are the dead raised up, and with what body do they come? And of course, two words that are in that phrase right there, the word dead.
Man, what'd you say was
1 Corinthians 15, I'm sorry, I probably didn't tell you. 1 Corinthians 15, verse 35. 1 Corinthians 15, 35. Some men will say, how are the dead raised up? Now, you can read that literally, and of course, you and I would be, having read it or having heard someone say that, we would subject ourselves to the ideology, is that referring to the physical body after its decease being raised back up out of a state of what we call death? It would be easy to take it that way. I can understand it. But when you look at the Greek in it, you begin to realize, no, it's not really referring to a deceased body. It's actually referring to something other than that. And when you see the word, there's several words, I think I wrote them down here somewhere. I know I did, but I'm not sure. But several words that we need to familiarize ourselves with, and that is raised and resurrection. Both of those words, raised and resurrection. And the word raise actually is the Greek. To raise or to rise or to be risen is actually the Greek word agero, and what it really means is to arouse yourself from sleep. And there's a tremendous difference in that. And if I use the word raised from the dead, but in Greek I said agero, then I'm not talking about the decease of the physical body. Now I've got to be talking about something different, because I'm saying arouse yourself from sleep. So then am I referring to death as sleep? That's probably the problem right there. When we see that word dead or death, generally it's referring to sleep or a state of unconsciousness. It doesn't mean you don't have life. And that's right there is a problem. If we could understand there's not a state where we don't have life. We always have life. Even if we lay the suit down and call it our body, we still have life. That life moves on and continues. So these are problems. These are issues in translation. And anybody could see that and grapple with it themselves if they wanted to. Or you could just read it like it says and get this crazy concocted idea that after a body has lain in the grave for years and years, hundreds and hundreds of years, that God's going to come back and cover it over with flesh and bust the dirt off top of it and, explode the casket or whatever. Now they put them in a big old metal thing too, don't they? You're going to blow all that stuff out. Really, that's pretty bizarre, That's pretty bizarre. But traditionalists and literalists really embrace that really strong. So, verse 36, Paul comes back and said, fool. When he said, now, you fool. He's saying, and here is a real good analogy I think that he gives, but I don't know that we have really grappled with this analogy. He said, fool. And of course, wasn't it Jesus said you shouldn't call somebody a fool? And here Paul is calling him a fool. He said, y'all are a fool for thinking like this. But anyway, fool, that which you sow is not quickened except it die. Okay? And of course there, again, you could use the word awaken or change states, change its place of being. Because when you and I put a grain of corn or tomato or squash or you name it, when you put that seed in the ground, we say the seed dies. Well, the seed changes form. It yields itself. It gives itself up to the life that's working in it. And see, and I think it's a beautiful illustration. And someone, I forget, I think it was Barbara Simons, gave me a hand painting, a large thing, it's very, very well done, of a human body kind of in an embryo state where that it's under the surface of the ground, sort of like in a womb type thing, with its legs and its feet kind of pushing up through the ground and like it's just being pulled out of the ground. So beautiful, in color, beautiful painting that they gave me years ago. And if I had it, I could show it to you. It gives a beautiful illustration, I think, of what Paul is saying right here. He said, "So you fool, that which you sow is not quickened except it die, and that which you sow not that body that shall be." Now what I want to do, I want you to see this, and I want to put the wheel of powers, or the astrological wheel on the board again, and show you, because this is so clear when you see it inside that wheel, recognizing that wheel to be the Elohim, or to be God, and to realize that here's how you become as that image. This is how you are becoming. This is what you be. In other words, you are this, but yet your being is becoming, because it's progressive. I don't care who you are. We're on a journey, right? And the journey should be a progressive unfolding, or taking off, or putting on, whatever it is. Sometimes taking off, sometimes putting on. But nevertheless, the journey of becoming, we should recognize that and realize that's who we are. So he said, that which you sow not the body that shall be, but bare grain. Now you can take this, if you can, think with me like this. When your father and your mother copulated, made love, they got together, and your father released that seed, and there's a lot of good graphics on this on the internet. If you'd like to Google it, go on Google, and ask Google God this. You can see it. They have some really good animated, they actually look literal and real, where that little seed, out of millions of them, working its little way up to that egg, and how it penetrates that egg, and boom, immediately, when they two do that, when that penetration takes place, to me, that's exactly what this is saying. All of a sudden, something begins to happen. Something that seemed to be dormant, dead, wasn't moving, like an egg, just sitting there. All of a sudden, it's like it comes alive. From that little bitty piece of semen, so small. In other words, it don't seem to have arms or legs or any other body parts, but everything you are is in it. If we could just entertain that, so that when you look at the astrological wheel and you see that everything that we have termed God is potentially in me to become. It can't, it cannot be any other way than that. But again, it takes thinking out of the box, and it's hard for us to get out of our box. Confines us. It puts us in a position where we have a hard time breaking out of it until you just finally lay the thing out and say, okay, I'm open-minded. I'm going to look. Can you get in trouble doing that? You could, I think, maybe, possibly. I'm not really sure, but I guarantee you'll be challenged to think if a person can do that, or if a would do that. So he said, that seed that you sow not the body that shall be, right? On that sperm of your father didn't have arms, legs, and all the things that you show, but you show it. But it may chance of wheat or grain or some other. But God, notice this, verse 30, but God gives it a body as it pleases Him, and to every seed His own body. And now that's what begins to make it even more beautiful and more personal. Every one of us have been designed, i.e. built, and purposed, and none of us alike. Every person, individual, and yet perfect and purpose with his or her design and purpose. And I'm going to tell you, they ain't all alike. And what we try to do is make them all alike. Make them all fit the same caliber. Every one of them. Now y'all say this, y'all repeat this prayer, y'all believe these 12 beliefs, y'all jump in these hoops just like I'm jumping in. We'll all jump together. And that is about the dumbest thing we've ever tried to believe, because every one of us, I don't care how many children you have or how many grandchildren you have, the more they come in, they are different. They're supposed to be. They're designed. I mean, you know, I come from a large family. Our extended family, I think Mother had like, how many grandkids and great-grandkids? I think she had something like 42 or 44 kids, great-grandkids, and maybe a few great-great-grandkids before she graduated and moved into the next. My grandma was the same way. My grandma's extended family was much larger than that. So you could get my family together, and you had a pretty good-sized community, you know. We were helping to populate. So, but God gives it a body as it pleases Him. So really, you think about this and you realize there's not anything about anyone that's wrong or that's a mistake. I think the problem that we have had, or a problem that we have had that could be addressed, is that every one of them are individual, and we haven't taken the time to try to find out what is their individuality about. Because it is. It's about whoever they are. And that hasn't always been clear. All right, this other passage, and you can hold your finger here in Corinthians 15. We'll come back to it, but go back over to 1 Corinthians chapter 2. Just turn up to the couple of pages to chapter 2. And I want you to look at this verse. Verse 6, chapter 2, verse 6 says, "Howbeit we speak wisdom among them that are perfect." And of course here we look at this word perfect. Actually in the Greek it's teleos, and it actually should be translated purposed.
Mine says mature.
And I think we've taken that idea. The word teleos comes from the root telos, which really it means you've been purposed, or you have been set or sent out for a definite goal or purpose. And in that we call it mature. Why? Because you're setting, pointing, directing a child to a goal, right? And what would that goal be? Maturity. Well, that's generally how we look at it. But if we looked at it more, that in their maturity, they have a purpose. They have a reason for being. And there are a lot of people, as a matter of fact, most people don't know that. They don't even believe that about themselves. They don't even think that they're purposed. They don't even think that they have been divinely designed and built the way they are. But why? Because we always, don't we try to change them? We always try to mold them to fit our idea of them. I mean, I did that. That's what I tried to do with all my kids. I tried to beat them in line, or I'm sorry, whip them in line, correct them in line. But I never knew that they were individually designed and purposed, and I didn't realize what I knew I had become a grandparent, you know. And then when I become a grandparent, I realized, you know, I believe I have a better idea now how to be a parent. You know, so, because it doesn't come with a hand manual, or mine didn't. Mine didn't come with an instruction manual to show me how to do this. So anyway, we speak the wisdom among them that are purposed. I'm going to use that word, purposed. They're purposed, yet not the wisdom of this world, nor the princes of this world that come to nothing. But we speak the wisdom of God in a mystery. And there again, there's that word mystery. Even hidden. Is wisdom hidden? And so I remember years ago when I started talking about secrets and hidden things and mysteries of God, I remember lots of people would come and ask me, well, why would God hide this stuff? And why would it be this way? And I always would, well, I mean, you know, that was just a way of writing things. It was just a way of putting things. And so, anyway, go with me to Isaiah 14. Let's just work with this just a little bit here. Isaiah 14. Pick it up and see some of the same things. And the mystery, let me go ahead and put this on the board because we do have to work with this. a lot. And of course, the circle just simply means or represents eternity. If you look at ancient Hebrew and you look at the term, ancient Hebrew has a term called the in. That's one term. That's basically this, the circle, which means timeless. Or we use the word eternity, or eternal. That's the word we. And what we mean when we say that is timeless. But that's what in, A-I-N, that means timeless. And that's why it's represented by a circle, because it doesn't have a beginning and it doesn't have an end. So when you look out at everything, it seems to be in space or in the universe. That's how it appears to the physical eye, right? It appears to be a circle, endless, endless. So when you look at the whole astrological wheel, I forget what they call it, but either way, when you look at the whole astrological wheel, it seems like it's swirling as a big circle or a vortex. So that's the whole purpose, in. Then they add a word to it, in soft. That just simply means now it's entered into this dimension of horizon. In would be the metal, the timeless, and soft, in soft would be time. So it's entered into that, and then it's called in soft and the word or in Hebrew is light. So what's happened is light has entered in by fire with the ingredient earth into water or material or matter to create. And so that creates. What does it create? It creates everything and anything. And it's just constantly doing this. And so this represents, so we have a circle with a cross in the middle of it. One of the most ancient symbols, see it everywhere. It's in everything. It should be very basic. It should be fundamental. It should be foundational so that we begin to look at it and we see it. So here with this, I do the astrological wheel. And the astrological wheel just gives us the Elohim. And of course, Elohim is God, or gods. Gods. Now, I want you to see this, and I'm going to put this on the board. I drew a little picture of this so I could remember somewhere around this period of time, my father, somewhere around, let's see, this is March the 21st, April the 21st, May the 21st, June 21st, etc., July, etc. Okay? And of course, this March represents Aries, or the ram, which actually is referring to the Aries, or the ram, is referring to the head, the brain. Aries, the ram, and the reason it's the ram, is the ram's horn. That's the symbol for this particular glyph, or this segment of power. Each segment represents certain facets of the physical body. Everything in the astrological wheel works this way for every person and everybody. This is why everybody's unique. Everybody is exactly the way they are supposed to be. There's nothing wrong. Nobody's a wicked, corrupt sinner and bound for hell and all that good stuff. They may have a lot of opportunities to find out how things don't work. We call them mistakes, right? Isn't that what we call them? Well, they just made all kinds of mistakes. No, they didn't. They made some opportunities to show them it don't work that way. And once they, like me, I've always been a slow learner. And so I may make that mistake hundreds of times. And then I realize, I ain't working too good. I might tweak it a little bit this time, do it a little different. I'm sure you probably experience the same thing. So I'm wanting to make a point about this. And then, of course, this next one we have here is Taurus, and of course Taurus is the bull. It's the symbol of the bull. Taurus, the bull, and it refers to the shoulders and the neck. The shoulders and the neck of the body. Okay? So that's Taurus, the bull. And of course this is Gemini, the twins. And the twins, of course, are your two arms. Your right and left arm. Those are the twins. Coming on around to June is Cancer, the lungs. July, Leo, the heart. And you can see it. It's just, you just continue to graduate the thing. It comes all the way around, and it's not hard to see it. But my point is this. Somewhere within this week period, anywhere from between May the 28th to May the 23rd, 4th, or 5th, James and Rachel made love, and James released a seed, and that seed, now I want you to get this, because to me, this is just so profound. You can put yourself anywhere you want to in this circle, anywhere that you would like within this circle, and you have to realize, of course, this to erase all of that center part and to look at that, to me, is filled with volumes of information. In other words, it seems to be that there's nothing in that circle, but the truth of the matter is everything is in that circle or that wheel, and it's the center of that wheel that gives the wheel everything it's got, or everything it is. So out of this vast, we call it nothing, or God, or whatever, those are terms we use, spins this entire astrological wheel. But on May the 21st, or somewhere within those few days there, James Hayes released a seed, and in that seed was the very soul, S-O-U-L. It was the soul of me. And so that soul come into that seed. Now, hear this. Entertain this idea. The soul carried information in it that was unlimited. Why? Because the soul is designed, it's built, it's put together as that information machine, as that. You remember Jesus said that He would bring all things back to your remembrance, and we always say this: if you remember it, then you probably knew it. You follow what I'm saying? So that we know. We know. But it's a secret. What is the secret? It's a mystery. What is the mystery? Paul said it's Christ in you. Christ being Christos or Christos, which means the unction, the anointing. Hebrew would be Mashiach. What is that unction of that anointing? It resides inside you. It is a part of the soul that has the information of the all. Because it comes as a part of the all. It comes from the all. And so this happened, and I was being built from around this period of time. I was being built all this 9 months to right here. And at this point, I was released from my mother's womb. This would be February the 19th. February the 19th, I was released from construction. I was released into the world as me, as a physical body. You fit there somewhere. Now, during all of this time of building me, I'll come in here with purpose and design. You do too. Every one of us, we have purpose and design. I don't think we always recognize it. I don't think that we know it. Now, when they release me, I do not want about that. Oh, don't. I do not have a red one. Oh, my. I did not know that. I wanted a red one because when this happened, do you remember the Hebrew Genesis 1, 2, the Spirit of God moved, the Spirit, the Hebrew word Spirit is ruach. Do y'all remember that? See, everybody's trying to tell you that the Spirit is here. The Spirit is only here through the measure of the soul. But with the soul, people think that the soul is the physical and it's just limited to the physical. Or some people think the soul and the spirit are synonyms and they're interchangeable. And those are not true. Those terms aren't real. The soul has a specific design. The spirit has a specific design. The spirit, when I come, I had not breathed any air from out here at all while I was in my mother's womb. Right? The only air I was getting in here was through the oxygen from the blood that she was pumping through me. That was the only thing that I was getting that we would call air. But in here, with the temple and the tabernacles being built, there was no air. But when I come out, Mother brought me out of the garden into the world, released me into the world, and my goodness, we're going to look at some things in Genesis chapter 3, which let me just read you this. I'm going to show you some stuff that just literally will curl your hair. It will blow your mind. I mean, because these things have been grossly mistranslated. We have been lazy and just haven't done enough research or study. But I'm just going to read this. I'm going to come back next week and explain it even in a greater detail. For God doth know, Elohim knows, listen to this, He knows that in the day that you partake of this, your eyes will be opened, and you shall be as, they get it right here, you will be as God. Wow. Wasn't that the whole purpose of the design? Hello, could I even get a witness? What else was you supposed to be like?
Yep.
Are you supposed to be like the song say, I'm just a human, I'm just a man? In other words, you're trying to say, I'm just built to squander, flounder, screw up? No, no, the whole purpose and design was that you would definitely partake, and in your partaking, you would be as what you were built to be. In other words, if I was built for 9 months just to be a human and just to flounder around in the earth, what's the sense? What's the purpose? You have to hear that. You see, that's just really messed up thinking. And then I'll read you another word. It says, and the Lord God, here, I'm not telling you where I'm at because I'm going to come back and break this down for you next week, and it'll just blow your mind. For God said unto the woman, that because what you have done, the woman said, the serpent, everybody said, she's blaming, or she says, the serpent beguiled me. And wow, what we have done, shamayini, that's the Hebrew word shamayini, and I want to show you what that word says in Hebrew. It simply says, shamayini, the serpent beguiled me. Actually, it means the serpent sheen me, or that nervous system stirred me, so now I have the ability to breathe. Well, what does it mean when I have the ability to breathe? Now I can release and take in ruach, the Spirit. I can be now as God is. Why? Because the temple is complete. There's nothing wrong with the temple. The structural design is perfect and right, and now it can move and be and do what it's designed to be. What is the secret then? The secret is all of this is deposited in you, and when you come out and you breathe, y'all just pretend that this is red. I will get a red marker for you. Pretend this is red. So now when I come out of the womb, the first thing I do is I breathe. Ruach. Spirit enlifes me now. It wasn't that Spirit didn't give me life in the womb. It did via the avenue of the soul, because it's the soul that has a design to connect itself to the physical dimension and become sensual, egoic. Not wrong, not bad, but experience the things of this physical dimension. And so now then you have the marriage, you have the two that God joined together that no man can put asunder. Now you have this divine essence of being, and you are it. You are the male and the female. You are the spirit and the natural. You are the heavenly and the earthly. You are the two now merged together as one to live this beautiful dimension and dance through it. Move forward, move backwards, move sideways, stumble occasionally. Anybody ever been on the dance floor? Occasionally, do y'all not kind of get your feet kind of, I mean, if you dance with me, you're going to get stumbled up a little bit. It don't mean that you have to fall down. You could. But what do you do? When you fall down, what do you do?
Get up.
You get back up. I mean, it's in the falling down and the getting up that you learn to walk. It's in the falling down and getting up that you learn to be. That's not wrong. Isn't it amazing how that we call it wrong? We say it's not, it's da-da-da-da-da. But when we can, you put yourself anywhere in here where you were gestated, all you got to do is count back 40 weeks from the time you were born, count back 40 weeks, and you will know when mom and daddy made love or copulated and daddy planted his seed and mama gave her egg and boom, they created you in the womb. And God there, through the soul, because the soul is the information machine, the soul carries the divine blueprint, it carries the design, it began to build the physical body. First thing it did, listen to this is a fact, first thing it did, it built the brain. But with the brain, and when you look at this, with the brain comes the brain is just not the top of the head. The brain is the spinal column, the 12-paired cranial nerve. The cranial nerve goes all the way down this back, all the way down to the sacrum, the very bottom of your back right here, and then from there, the whole nervous system. And that's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right and left. That's the tree that we are to partake of. You can't live here and not. But no, we got way off the track. So anyhow, Isaiah 14. And now where I ask you if you go there, Isaiah 14, it says, and the Lord will have mercy on Jacob. Now give me a definition for the word mercy. Anybody? Just shout me out a definition for the word mercy. Y'all afraid? Nobody? What would y'all call mercy?
Understanding. Understanding.
Understanding. All right, anybody else?
Forgiveness.
Forgiveness, right? Mercy, forgiveness, understanding. Well, that's how I would have looked at that. And agreeable, I had to do this thing when a word kind of pricks me. I always say, well, I wonder what does it really mean, because I know what I've been told it means. And of course, in Hebrew, that word that we just talked about, mercy or understanding or forgiveness or love or whatever, kindness or whatever we use there. That's how we would look at it. In the first place, it's actually used in Genesis 19. That's where it's first used. And it's the Hebrew word kasad. Chesad or kasad. And basically, you're right. But this word mercy is not that word mercy. And I thought, well, now why in the world do they do? Why? And that's one of my major deals is when I'm studying words and I start saying, oh my God, they've got 2 or 3 different English words for this one Hebrew word, or vice versa. And so when I looked at this particular word, and I realized this word is rachim. No, wait a minute. A rachim, a kasad, they don't even sound like. They don't have a numerical value the same. They're completely different. And so I looked at this one, and you know what this one means? The number one meaning of this one means to fondle. To fondle? Yeah. Not in a vulgar sense, but in a playful sense, or in a loving sense. Actually, that's what it means. It means to fondle or to handle gently and tenderly. It's just exactly like you would take a child and hold it, a baby, and hold it and caress it and love it. Fondle it, not in a vulgar sense. Or you'd just be like taking your partner, your mate, and caress them, fondle them. Look, that's exactly what that word means. And look at what it says right here. The Lord will have mercy on Jacob. And in Hebrew, actually what that says is the Lord will play with, fondle, gently handle Jacob. Well, now, who is Jacob? Because if you notice, look what he says. The Lord will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel. Now, wait a minute. He's going to play with Jacob. He's going to enjoy Jacob, fondle, in a good sense, not vulgar, but in a good sense. But yet he chose Israel. Now, how many of you know, you should know this here, or we should have heard it enough, that we're talking about the same character.
Yep.
We're not talking about two different characters. We're talking about the same character. Remember, we go back over to Genesis, what is it, 34? I think it's 34, 32, 34, where Jacob had this combative, we think combative, and that's not at all what happened, but we have this idea, wrestled with God, and God changed his name, said, I'm not going to call you Jacob no more, now I'm going to call you Israel, right? So it wasn't referring to a nation, it's referring to the physical body. It's actually referring to this right here. This is Jacob, and this is Israel. This right here, one of them is flesh, carnal, physical. The other one is spiritual by design. It's spiritual and it's godly. It's the same thing. And yet he says, look, I'm going to play with this one. I'm going to fondle them. I'm going to love it like a child. But also in that word, it means to show affection. It also carries the idea of show correction and reproof. Now if you think about that, that's the perfect way to raise a child. Instead of trying to beat the knowledge into them while you beat the hell out of them, that's how I was taught. That's what my mom and daddy thought. And they taught it really good. I mean, there were many times that I got stripes on my legs that cut it down to the blood with mom and daddy used hickory and belts. But they never used anything but a hickory or belt. They never hit us with their hands, or they used a hickory and a belt. That's how they were taught, and you were taught the way. But I'm not saying that's the right way to teach. I'm saying that this right here would be the right way to teach. It would be to fondle, to handle, to gently caress as you show reproof. That's what the word means. As you point them in the right direction. I didn't do that. I mean, I hate to admit it. I didn't know. Nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever showed me that. But that's exactly what this passage is saying right here as it begins to open up. And it says, I have chosen. And I want you to look at this word, chosen, Israel. And if I said Jacob, most of you would have said what? Jacob's name means what? Deceiver, supplanter, trickery, etc. We usually say Jacob represents the carnal mind. Isn't that what we talk about? And that's correct. Jacob represents the natural physical mind. That mind that's egoic, that's driven more by sensual apparatus than any other thing. And in Rome, that's what it's saying here. God has mercy on it. God caresses it, loves it, wants to handle it and reprove it in the right direction. Not hurt it, not harm it, definitely not beat it up. But then this word Israel. And I want to read you this, and I know that most of you know this term Israel, but I want to read it to you. This is Charles Fillmore, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. And I use it a lot because I got several that give me definitions of names, but this one's a good one. But here is the meaning, more or less the meaning of this term Israel, or the name. The significance of the changing of Jacob's name to Israel is this. The mind controls the body through the nerves, and a great nerve, the sciatic, runs down the leg through the hollow of the thigh. How many of you ever had your sciatic nerve hurt or bother you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, driving a long time, and I do a lot of driving. Every now and then that rascal will get to bother me. Boy, I got to. So if you've ever had that, you understand what he's talking about. Plumb down into the bone. So listen to this now. You'll kind of have more understanding of that story there in Genesis 34 where Jacob wrestled with God, and God touched him in the hollow, the marrow of the bone. So the mind controls the body through the nerves. The great nerve, the sciatic, runs down the leg through the hollow of the thigh. The will acts directly through this nerve, and when the individual, through his mentality or understanding, i.e. Jacob, exercises his I am power upon the natural man in an attempt to make unity between spirit and the divine natural, there is a letting go of the human will. In other words, Jacob's thigh was out of joint. And a great light of understanding breaks in the light of understanding, breaks in the struggle of the soul when it discovers that there is a divine / natural body, and it clings to that inner life and strength and eventually brings it to the surface in a perpetual vigor. Now, when you look at the name Israel, you start to realize that. Now I'm trying to get you to understand the purpose is in the secret, the mystery, and the secret and the mystery is inside you. Many times we don't know it. Well, we haven't gone in there to find the secret or to find the mystery or to unveil all of this purpose and design that I am built for, that I am designed for. So in this same chapter, chapter 14, look with me. Look with me over here at verse 24. Same chapter. Verse 24. It says, "And the Lord of hosts has sworn, saying, Surely, as I have thought, so shall it come to pass, and as I have purposed." See this word purposed right here? Yes. Actually, it means to deliberate and to guide. As I have purposed, so shall it stand. And this is God's ideology. So shall it stand, that I will break the Assyrian in my hand upon the mountains, tread him underfoot. Then shall his yoke depart from off them, and his burden depart from off their shoulders. This is the purpose, there it is again, that is purposed, there it is again, upon the whole earth, and this is the land that is stretched out upon all the nations. For the Lord of hosts has purposed this. Now the purpose is inside you and me. The purpose is that Israel, that's the purpose, will break the yoke of bondage off of Jacob, in other words, the physical man, and set you free. Now how does that happen? That happens as you and I begin to recognize and realize who I am and how I am built, how I'm put together. So in closing, I want you to go back with me to 1 Corinthians 15. And I want to look at this. 1 Corinthians 15, and let's look at verse 39. It says, "And all flesh is not the same flesh. There is a kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fish, another of birds." There are also, King James uses the word celestial. You have a translation, is everybody's translation pretty much saying the same thing? Celestial?
Celestial, mineral, side note, heavenly.
Heavenly, okay. Now, you can look at some translations and it would say, not just heavenly, it would say astrologically. Huh? Well, when you think of the celestial, we use the word heavens, but when you think of the celestial sky, do you not think of the astrological wheel? The sun, the moon, the stars, the planets, the whole shebang, yeah, that's exactly right. So, well, look at this, look at what he says right here. He says, another Ephesians, another verse 40, there also celestial or heavenly bodies terrestrial. And of course, if you have a note beside yours right there, or some may say natural or earthly, same thing. So what do we have here? Look at this right here. This green represents water, material, matter, that's terrestrial. Now, follow this. This is terrestrial. This red, y'all colorblind, this is a really red. This red pointing upward, this red pyramid pointing upward represents the heavenly, the celestial body. Now look at what he says. Verse 41, there's one glory of the sun, another glory of the moon, another glory of the stars, and one's different from the other in glory. So also is the resurrection. And again, here is the word anastasis, actually means to stand up after you are asleep. That's what that would mean. So I said, so also is standing up of the dead, actually standing up from sleep or from unconsciousness. Now, you think about this. Sometimes when you stand up, you can just pop right up and get on the go. Usually it's a little bit slower than that. Maybe the older you get, you kind of slow down a little bit. You just get up. What are you doing? You're in the process of waking up, right? That's what you're doing. You're waking up. Why? I've been asleep here. Were you dead? No, I was as though. How many of you remember from the time that you conked out, whatever time, some say that I just lay my head down and then within a minute or a second or two, I'm gone. It doesn't seem like that to me. It seems like sometimes I lay there for a minute or two. But I do go to sleep fairly quick, fairly quick. And you know what? Generally, I don't remember, even though I do get up during the night occasionally and go to the bathroom. Don't you? Sometimes get up during the night. And I do remember doing that, but from the time that my eyes closed, even sometimes, even if I'm dreaming, I do not remember. I don't remember anything from that moment until the next moment when I got up. I mean, as far as I was concerned, it was only 1 second elapsed. Why? I had no idea what was going on. But was I still a being? Sure I was. What was I? I was in a sleep state, as though dead. Why? I had no cognitive ability that I knew of. But did I have cognitive ability? Yes. It's like they were suspended for some reason. It happens to every one of you. And this is what he's referring to right here. Verse 42. So also is the anastasis, that's the Greek word, means to stand up from the sleep. That's the word dead. It is sown in corruption. It is awakened. That's the word raised. That's the Greek word egero, which means to arouse from sleep. It is aroused in incorruption. It is sown in dishonor. It is raised. That means, again, egero, aroused in glory. It is sown in weakness. That means the physical is limited. It is aroused in power. It's awakened. It is sown, look at this, a natural body. That was the seed of your father. Come in and built you. And how you look is not the way that sperm looked. But in that sperm was you. And in that sperm was everything about you. That's exactly what that soul is, that green upside down pyramid. It is sown a natural body. It is raised, again, that's the word egero, awakened. It is awakened a spiritual body. Why? Well, that's the part of the whole journey, is to awaken to who we are. And they preach these messages that Adam sinned. The whole ideology about Adam's sin, or Adam failed, or Adam did this, that, was the physical body goes to sleep, that in sleep it don't know anything. And that's the whole idea. It's not that Adam sinned, made a mistake, or whatever he's referring to. Adam went to sleep. It's sown a natural body. It's awakened spiritual body. There is a natural body and there is a spiritual body. This is clear. It's beautiful to me. Verse 45. And so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul. Hello? That was the first. A living soul. Why? Because the soul is alive. It's alive with design. It's alive with purpose. Why? It is part of God's plan to fondle you, caress you, love you, enjoy you, play with you. You think God's mad at us because we make mistakes? No, God's playing with us in that. What is he doing? He's trying to let us see, let us learn, teach us, awaken us, i.e., get us saved. I told James what I'm going to get you saved. Well, when I get you saved, all I have done is awaken you to your wholeness. But if you're asleep, you're not awakened to your wholeness. You still think you are just a physical body, limited, powerless, when you're powerful. But when we awaken and we get saved, in other words, we connect to our whole being, we get the dots together, then we become powerful. So that's what he's saying. He said, verse 45, and so it is written, the first man, Adam, was made a living soul, the last Adam, a quickening spirit. Boom. Well, there it is, right there, the picture of that. Again, that's a red triangle. Y'all cover that. And so that quicken the two. The two make you. This is the male and the female. This is what Genesis 2, I think it's 27 and 28, what God hath joined together, what God has put together here, man cannot put it asunder. Now we took that and tried to apply it to a man and a woman in marriage. It wasn't referring to that. It was referring to the spirit and the soul, the divine and the physical merged together as one. And that's the whole idea behind that thing. So, he said, verse 46, howbeit that was not first which is spiritual. Look at this. This is the spiritual. When I took the first breath, when I come off the wheel of powers, out of the womb, and God and Mama pressed me out of the garden into this physical world on February the 19th. That's when the Spirit, Ruach breath, engulfed me, began to life me. But I was alive in the womb when Daddy released the seed and began to build me as a physical, natural, carnal, incarnate God. It's hard for us. People say, well, if you're God, then go do this and this and this. Well, I'm God in the making. I ain't got there yet, but I'm still God. You got it. So he says, howbeit that was not first which is spiritual, but that which is natural, and afterwards that which is spiritual. For the first man was of the earth, he's earthy. The second man is the Lord from heaven. As is the earthy, such are they also that are earthy. As is the heavenly, such are they also that are heavenly. As we have born, that word actually, foreo, born actually, foreo, means to be clothed with. What are you clothed with? You're clothed with a physical body that came from an image. Remember Genesis 1:26? Make you as my image. There it is. Verse 49. As we have been clothed with the image of the earthy, let us also bear or clothe ourselves with the image of the heavenly. Wow. That's this right here. Every bit of it in a nutshell. Just exactly like God designed you. God never made a mistake. You bear the image of the physical body, human. You also bear the image of the design. But that design is a secret because it's inside you wanting to come out. Wanting to express itself through you as itself. Wow. Man, if we put that in our pipe and smoked it, that'll get you high. That'll change your life. That'll get you saved. That'll really make you whole. And it does it without condemnation. It does it without beating you up. It does it in a loving, caressing, fondling way. Wow, if we embrace that whole ideology that God's given us, then we realize the secrets are not, they're not locked up somewhere away in a vault. The only vault they're in is you, me. We are the secret. just waiting to be unveiled and to be unleashed. And you know, I realize I haven't anywhere near tapped the potential of what I am and who I am. But God only knows the more I am awakening, I long to tap that potential. Now what does that potential look like? I think that there have been people come in that give me some idea of what that looks like and how that would actually play out. But because I have come to realize and recognize that even though on February the 19th I was born sometime in the early morning hours, I think, it wasn't put on my birth certificate. I wish it had been. It wasn't. But I've asked my brothers and my oldest brother Richard, he was around 4 when I was 4 or 5 when I was born. I asked him, "Do you remember what time Mama left to take me?" Well, it seemed like she left it was after dark. You know, don't remember for sure. But best I can find out the information is sometime in the wee morning hours, I entered here through the special design of James and Rachel, creating and ain't another like me in the world. Can't be. But that's true about you. Period. And it really, I'm going to tell you, listen, it really didn't matter that Mom and Daddy was in love or wasn't in love. It really didn't even matter that Daddy may have raped Mom. It's irrelevant. The matter of fact was the seed was planted. God chose to come in through the soul, through that sperm, and build him a tabernacle to experience this dimension. That's a marvelous thing. So any life that incubates for those 40 weeks, and man, that's it. You know, when you get to that 40, that's what this green triangle upside down, numeric value 40, water, materiality, Mary, Martha, Maureen, all of those names come from that mem glyph, 40 mem and 600 mem, all referring to that building of the physical body as the house, the tabernacle for God to experience and to enjoy this dimension. Hallelujah, that's wonderful. So the more we acquaint ourselves with the secret that's inside me, which is me, the more I acquaint myself with that, the more I'm going to draw out of those secrets more of who I am. And that's, you know, that's a personal thing. I can't tell you what all's in there about you, but I can tell you there's a lot more in there about you than you or I know. We only know a very, very small speck, period. But hallelujah, we're learning. I'm learning. I'm getting to know me. You know, and that's the work. Know yourself.